Hello everyone, my name is Relax and Panic, and this is another reaction to That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. As always, if you want to see the reaction itself, just go down into my descriptions, follow the parenthesis.parts and yeah, enjoy the reaction. So, once you've done that, you can feel free to come back here and hear my thoughts about this episode. So see you soon. For those that came back, welcome back. Now, I did not write down so much this time, but there is a little bit here. So let's see. By the way, going back on what I mentioned multiple times during the reaction, what the heck happened to the village? I mean, they jumped forward in a massive amount. Those houses look really, really good. I mean, just look at the table, at the fireplace in the background. They have not tapestry, what is it called? That thing that is hanging behind Rimuru. You know what I mean. So all of that, and they have tea pots, and well, it's all just much, you know? It just increased into quite a fast pace. But I guess we kind of skipped some days or weeks there. At least I would guess. So we have a little bit of stuff happening. One is they are able to create silk now due to the Oni that joined the village, which is very nice. So they are now called Kijin. So from the Magicules, there are some creatures, some in the end silk spinners, I guess, cocooning, and they make silk from that. And due to the Magicules, the silk is very, very sturdy. Sounded a little bit like, you know, magically enhanced kind of armor. So that would be very awesome. So you have a lightweight, good looking clothing, which you can color as you want, and just like every linen and everything, you can craft nice outfits from. But on the other hand, it has an effect of at least a light armor. So that's cool. I like it because by doing so, they set up like a field apart from plate armor to be well armed. I think it's a matter of style. The European medieval warfare was plate armor. You know, so ring armor and plate armor. So like a chainmail and stuff like that. You had leather and stuff as well, but if you would go into a heavy fighting, you had chainmail. And those who could afford it, there were not many, wore plate armor. While some of this was in the Asian realm as well, as far as I know, a lot of it, especially if you look at India, there's some chainmails and everything as well. It is somehow in the image of mainly, I guess, Japan or the samurai. You have two images. You have the full armored one, which is with these samurai armor made, as far as I know, out of wood partially. But you have metal plating in as well, but they're more like layered armors. So not a full plate armor, more like there's some beauty in it, if you know what I mean. I mean, there's beauty in a full plate armor from the medieval ages in Europe as well, but it is just steel, you know, or just iron. And you could make some nice things like embroidered and stuff, but that was not for the battlefield. It was more for ceremonial stuff. While when you look at a samurai armor, you have the different shaping, you have the different masks and helmets, you have the colors, which I guess tell you something as well. So there's beauty in it as well. So that's one image. And the other is in, I don't know what it is called. I'm pretty sure it's not a kimono, but just more neither straight, one-colored jacket, trousers, something like that, you know. But it looked very good, like I can't say it properly, and a katana to that. So this is a picture you see in movies, and you at least for me, is a very typical thing to think about. And the Oni or Kijin here do have very much this kind of clothing. apart from the fact that they have some fur there as well, which shows a bit more of their wild side. So having something like silk crafting with the option to be kind of an armor, that's cool, because you can go for that kind of style, light infantry, shadow stalkers, stuff like that. So that's one. Then we had the let's call it friendly competition. Who is allowed to work with Rimuru, to carry him, to comfort him. And I don't know why, but the girls are in for it. I don't know why that happened. No clue. But I guess on the one hand, he's really suffering from it. But on the other hand, I mean, he's kind of fine with it as well. Just apart from the fact that cooking is not a skill from Shion. But in case of a huge war, I mean, there is an option to defeat the whole army of the orcs now. Just make some food, Shion, and bring it into the orc army. They will all die. Just saying, as an option, why not? I was a bit surprising that Gobta survived by getting poison resistance. It felt a bit strange, you know, he died and they so nonchalant just jumped over the fact that he's dead. So I was like, he cannot be really dead. There must be something coming on. There must be something happening now. And it was, right? So he came back. But still, this food scene was awesome. It even had a face and was talking to Rimuru, kind of. And even the Great Sage was like, if you shove it in to the right, you might survive. And it was not like you will, it's more like a might, there's an option. Holy heck. It was a funny scene. It was meant to be funny, so I will not go into the fact that his two men on the table were very unloyal in this moment, because they should be aware that he could die from that. So they should have stopped him. But Soai, our shadow, he has a unique skill set. Damn, he's so good. So body doubles that he can use to patrol the area. Just think about it. You don't need 10 men to patrol an area. You just need him. And they seem to be kind of aware for themselves. So they have some own intelligence, the body doubles, and report back to him. So if you have some more of those, you can patrol a huge area. You can, just talking about like a town guard or stuff like that. You don't need a town guard. You just need one man or 5, depending on the size of the city, you know. That's a great skill. We had our 2 craftsmen talking. I like that. I like the fact that they bring in different kind of craftsmanship, and that they bound with each other, they influence each other, they grow with each other, because it is kind of where this is going for, the idea of having a village or town later on maybe out of completely different races and backgrounds, heritages and so on, and by doing it, that they can grow on each other and get better with each other instead of fighting against each other. So having the dwarves there, having the hobgoblins, and now you bring in the Oni knowledge, the Kijin. This is going to be great. And you can see it already, that it helps everyone there. It will just get better. Well, we will see about the lizards. The king seemed to be clever, and his, I guess, daughter, I'm not sure, the one standing by his side, seemed to have had some sense in her head as well, not like the prince. Which brings me to the prince. Okay, it was comedic relief, no question there. And a lot of it. It was a bit too much because it was meant to be funny, so I go over that, but normally the way they arrived there and acted, this war's over. If other lizards are like that, not only like the prince, like the ones following him, are behaving like that as normal and okay, And it was just, there was like a charade, it was like a theater piece, you know? Completely over the top. I can see that it might have worked with the other goblins, who are weak and feel that the lizards are superior and thus bow down to them and possibly are influenced and impressed by such a display of whatever that was. But apart from that, how did he get his position? I mean, he was in an army as well, I guess. So normally they should look up to someone like that in this strange way. I just hope that it's just him and his group, which is this weird kind, and that the other lizards are more experienced and professional. Because they will have to be if they want to win against the orcs. I like the sentence that they said about the lizards. So you don't. Well, it's not clear if it is from Napoleon. Don't fear the enemy. Fear an incompetent ally. I can understand that because you are setting up equations and mathematics, kind of, you know, tactics and strategies with the troops you have and your allies as well. So if your ally is just behaving completely stupid, your equations don't work and more falls onto you. If your enemy is very clever, then kudos, you know, you have to give it to him. He's just good. But if your ally is stupid, that falls back on you as well because he's your ally and you should have known that before. So should have set up some, I don't know, like secondary plans and backup troops and the like. Ranga was nice to see, the soul intimidation, and then Gobta reappearing. So Gobta has this shadow skill now. I mean, we have seen in some episodes ago that he was able to summon his direwolf from the shadow. And I'm not sure, it seemed like that was not such a common thing. I know that Rimuru can do it, but Gobta was like the first one we have seen doing it from the hobgoblins. So now he improved that and is able to go through the shadows himself. And I mean, he always seems like fragile and worried and frightened from everything, but his attack was flawless. I mean, he was completely focused there, and that was nice. And it was a good setup attack. So he threw the spear, missed. I'm not sure if he missed by purpose or not, but that doesn't matter, because by doing so, he convinced the enemy that he's without a weapon. So the prince charged forward and thus opening himself up for this shadow attack from behind. Because he was out of balance in this moment, and Gobta just went through the shadows behind him, kicked him in the neck, and that's it. So I will give that to Gobta, that was a planned attack, a planned strike. And if so, it was really well done. Nicely executed. And then we have the orcs. So before I go to the Druid, we have the orcs marching at night. It makes sense. You know, there are a lot of them. They want to reach their destination. Food is a problem, as we discussed last time. But as far as I understood, their leader, the orc leader, is eating away the fear of his subordinates, and I guess the exhaustion as well. So they are not getting exhausted, so they can march endlessly. And that is a dangerous thing. If you have something like that, like a magical effect that causes an army to just not be exhausted, they can just rush through the world, you know? Normally, an army has a very limited amount of, not space, of kilometers, miles, whatever, that they can travel. Because people are getting exhausted, especially in full plate armor, which they are wearing, which normally you don't do while marching, just saying. And then you need rest, so you set up a camp, and the camp has to be fortified. You have to search for food, you have to search for water, people need sleep and rest and everything. So you waste a lot of time during the day not marching. And as I said, normally when an army marches and there's no enemy around, they will remove their armor, because you cannot march in an armor for a long time, especially not in a full plate mail. So if you are like in a gambizon or maybe even a chainmail, that is partially possible. If you have a chainmail, you can walk, but you will feel it in the evening, believe me. As soon as you start having plate pieces, plate arms might be still okay, but like plates on the legs, that will slow you down. If you have a full plate armor, and as we've seen, two-handed heavy weapons, that's not going to be a long march then, for any normal people. Now, we're talking about orcs, so I guess they are like not slowed down. I've seen that in many systems for dwarves, that they can wear heavy armor without being slowed down and not feel exhausted about it, because it's what they do all their life, wearing armor. So maybe that's this where they're going. But then walking through the night, as I said, possibly due to the orc leader, it makes them very dangerous because they can strike faster than you think. You have less time to prepare. And now we have a Druid, I guess. Trainee. First things first, this name. Trainee. If you just say it, you would write down trainee, like the person being trained. Which is not what you would like to have as an ally, someone who's just in training and not so good. But I guess it may have another meaning here. So she grew from the table, which I like, because a table is made out of wood and she's a druid, so she's able to do that out of some kind of flower. She's not that beauty smitten, let's call it that way, as Rimuru hoped, just being very present everywhere. But I like her because she looked nice and kind of normal. And she requests Rimuru to slay or defeat the orc leader. So there are many things that happen there. One thing is she multiple times named him Master of the Monsters or Leader of the Monsters. That's a title. And she does not know much about him before, so I guess she kind of got information somewhere. And he seems to be perceived by at least some as this Leader of the Monsters. And that's an interesting title, because if you see that growing, that will be a power in the world, because there are a lot of monsters there. And she was very diplomatic. She did not force anything. She did not beg. She just came there, was very polite and diplomatic, and requested something. She didn't talk about what she will hand over for that later on, but we will see. About what her reasons are, I already mentioned. I guess this orc army is kind of destroying the forest by now already. Just by marching through, they will destroy a lot. They need food, so they will possibly kill every animal around and harvest and destroy every plant around that they can eat. So there's like where they are moving and some miles around is just an area of death where they just kill everything. And that is nothing good for the balance of nature, for sure. Additionally, so many orcs coming into the forest, just guessing they would win, it would destroy the balance in the forest as well. Because even then, when they have settled down, they will need food. And from what we've seen so far from the orcs, they don't seem to be much of farmers. And now the question is, how do you destroy this orc leader? Apart from beating the army, I ask myself if there's like a challenge option. In many societies and cultures, it was not so uncommon, especially in roleplay systems, and this is kind of, or in series like that, that someone, if worthy, and that's the question, is allowed to challenge the leader. So the leader could turn down challenges, but only in a very specific amount, because otherwise his subordinates would question if he's really in power. So if Rimuru, or someone else, would be considered at least worthy enough, he could challenge the orc leader to a battle and a one-on-one duel or something like that. And I think this is where the tables would turn, because Rimuru should have the upper hand here, from what we have seen so far. Just guessing. So that's this thing. And we have to wait for the lizards to come back, because it kind of sounded like they wanted to. Maybe the better option would be if Rimuru and some of his men and women would go over to the Lizard King and just say, hey, allies means eye to eye, same level, you know? Just hoping. So that's it from me this time. I hope you liked. I did for sure. So feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Until the next time, my name is Relax and Panic. Goodbye and out.